Today on r/malicious compliance, landlord scheme backfires and boss gets karma for a bullying claim. Let's dive into the first one. I work for a leisure company. Think soft play, indoor soccer, laser tag. Prior to lockdown, managers and the big bosses were negotiating the renewal of the lease on one of our parks. Things were going mostly smoothly. However, the landlords were difficult to contact. Then 2020's mess hit the fan. All of our sites were closed and everything was thrown into a mess. Negotiations began to slip down the priority list. Nobody thought the landlord would push an eviction for an expired lease during this period, especially with it still getting rent, despite the site's closure and the closure of every business and restaurant in the immediate area. We were wrong. A few days ago, we received a letter saying we had 7 days to leave the premises and take everything with us. We were reminded that anything left in the building after 7 days would become the landlord's property. Now, a lot of construction goes into installing our equipment into a new building, which makes emptying one even harder. Add a lockdown with no staff and most businesses shut, and it meant that saving much of our assets would prove to be extremely difficult. To lose a profitable site and all of its assets is definitely a blow to our company. But here is where it gets worse. A few days into our 7-day eviction, we found out that the landlord had been advertising our park to our competitors. But he wasn't offering just the building. He was offering all of our stuff pre-installed. Ready to go, just needs rebranding. The landlord had evicted us from the property in an attempt to increase rent and make a solid profit from our installed equipment because he thought we wouldn't be able to empty the park. We were furious. And here's where the malicious compliance came in. We were told we had 7 days to move everything we owned out of the property. So that's what we did. Local businesses from all around offered up free space to store our things. A few people came back out of lockdown and they all spent the rest of the week removing, selling, or destroying everything that was related to us. We didn't even leave light fittings. In every other site vacation we have seen, we always end up leaving thousands of dollars worth of disco lights in the ceilings because they're too hard to get. We leave most of the construction in, as well as things like the bars and kitchens that all stay intact, recognizable as what they once were. But not this building. We ripped up the flooring we installed, tore down the walls that were not part of the original structure, ripped apart our manager's offices, and removed all artwork and lockers. The landlord now has every new deal he has been making dead in the water, plus a large renovation bill to install new flooring, etc. Or a company willing to do it themselves like we were. Lockdown has been extended another 4 weeks, so he has at least another 4 weeks without rent we were paying, and won't have any potential buyers. Silver lining, the assets we got out of the site have all been sold, and the lack of rent and additional income has helped the business and paid staff wages. Here's what happened next. We handed in the keys, and it was probably the quickest handover we've ever had. The landlord clearly didn't want to make any kind of conversation, and there was definitely an elephant in the room, but he definitely said nothing about the lack of our equipment. Complications did arise when we went to get back various deposits, but he had no case to withhold the deposits from us, as the building was in excellent shape. We had conducted much of the maintenance work ourselves, so the building was in significantly better condition than we found it. We also cleaned up 99% of the rubbish and dirt from our demolition crusade, so he couldn't bill us for cleaning. A very minor bit of pressing from our legal team meant that we received everything owed back in full. The building is still vacant, and as of yet, we don't know of any potential buyers. At this moment in time, our company is still standing despite the pandemic closures and lack of business. Staff are all still employed and doing well. Oh, I love this kind of landlord takedown. You know what's wild? He really thought he could just kick them out, keep the rent rolling, and then hand their fully set up business to a competitor like it was some bargain package deal. I mean, if you've got 7 days to move, you move. And they didn't just move, they took everything. I'm picturing this poor landlord walking in, expecting to see a ready-to-go business. And instead, it's just bare floors, bare walls, maybe an echo when he claps. I'm honestly impressed they even ripped up the floors. That's commitment. I've moved houses before and barely had the energy to take my own curtains down. These folks dismantled an entire entertainment park just out of spite and principle. Chef's kiss. And I'm glad they got their deposits back too. That's like the cherry on top of the don't mess with us Sunday. But if you think that's satisfying, wait until you hear about the time someone got accused of workplace bullying and then maliciously reported themselves to HR. Oh yeah, this one gets a boss fired. Years ago, I worked in a semi-public sector job as part of a successful team helping make life easy for local businesses. Our team boss took a good job in the private sector, and a new boss was recruited from a decent organization similar to ours in a different part of the country. She worked compressed hours Monday to Thursday and was off on Fridays. A month or two in, and although the new boss was quite particular about things being done her way and had upset a couple of my colleagues by criticizing their work, I'd had no problems with her. We had a team meeting where the boss said that our performance wasn't good enough. We were arguably the best in the country, and that she wanted to be more involved in what and how we did everything to ensure better quality. And so we should copy her to every client email so she could comment as needed before we sent another reply. Although this seemed inefficient, nobody argued. And I just asked her if I should wait until Monday for her to comment on any client emails received on a Friday. I can't remember exactly what she said, but at the end of the meeting, she asked me to stay behind, and then told me in a heated tone that my question was bullying behavior, that it was unprofessional to ask the question in front of the team, and said that my actions were the sort of thing that HR would see as grounds for dismissal, and that I should be very careful in future. I told her I understood, and we returned to our desks, where I wrote up every single detail of the entire meeting and interaction, and sent it to the head of HR with the explanation that, as bullying was very serious and may not be reported by the victim, I felt duty-bound to report myself. I also laid it on pretty thick about being appalled by my unprofessional behavior and the fact that my career was likely at risk, and I clearly had a desperate need for training and discipline to fix my dangerous ways. I also copied in my union rep. Within a day, me, my union rep, and my boss were with the head of HR who, being a by-the-book professional, could find no indication of bullying or justification for my fears of being an unprofessional bully in need of re-education. I was asked to leave the meeting. My union rep stayed in, and I don't know what was said, but within 6 weeks, my boss was gone. And that same week, my big boss called me in to thank me, as he had wanted to get rid of her but hadn't known how. I swear, some bosses have this magical ability to invent problems where none exist. All you did was ask if you should wait until Monday for Friday emails. A totally reasonable question, and she acted like you just insulted her entire family tree. Then she jumps straight to bullying behavior and grounds for dismissal? Please. If that's bullying, then I guess I've been terrorizing people my whole life, just by asking questions. And the way you reported yourself for bullying with that dramatic HR confession, that's not just malicious compliance. That's pure performance art. 6 weeks later, she's out the door and you're the one getting thanked. That's karma clocking in early for once. Now I'm curious. Have you ever had a boss completely overreact to something tiny and end up making themselves look ridiculous? Drop your story in the comments because I know there are some wild ones out there. And that wraps up today's perfectly legal chaos on r/MaliciousCompliance. If those cold, calculated comebacks hit the spot, give that thumbs up button a little love. Got opinions? I know you do. Drop them in the comments. I read everything, even the spicy ones. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another snarky saga. I'll see you in the next one. It's gonna be wild. Bye!